Hey, I'm Trevor Mignani, and this is the ZD Countdown. This is the show where we count down a top 10 list of things in the Zelda series. This week's countdown list is my top 10 things I want to see in the next console Zelda game. This particular list isn't in any certain order, and they can kind of be ordered based on your taste. I really don't have an order for them. These are just 10 things I want to see. So we'll go ahead and start off with number 1, which is pack more RPG elements into the game. The Zelda series in general has been making marginal steps into becoming a conventional RPG, like adding the adventure pouch in Skyward Sword, and even in A Link to the Past with all of its different items. But I think there should be some more counterbalances to all of those items you could hold. Let's look at Twilight Princess, for example. You could have, at any point, the ball and chain, the spinner, the bow and arrow, slingshot, 4 bottles, iron boots. I could really go on here, but I think you get the point. The key is create some sort of advantage to having certain items and penalize the player for carrying heavy items, or not allow them to pick up extra loot, or if they have less items in their pouch, they can collect more rupees or something like that. Be creative, Nintendo! Number 2, give every character but Link a voice. Bethesda's done a very good job of this in the Elder Scrolls series and the Fallout series, creating a very immersive environment through the characters, and you don't say a single word, you just pick some text options. And I think that would be a good option for Nintendo to choose in the next console Zelda game. I should say it is extremely important that they do not give Link a voice, because otherwise they're just going to tear apart the connection you make with the character. And if they do that, well, they might as well not call it a Zelda game, because that's just the Legend of Zelda cartoon.
I can't wait to bomb some Dodongos!
Going in at number 3, make an overworld worth exploring. Skyward Sword had so much potential, with its motion controls, fully orchestrated soundtrack, and an overworld that was totally fragmented! Oh wait, that one actually was a con. The problem with Skyward Sword was the overworld was essentially 4 pieces. You had your sky, you had your 3 regions, and they were all separated, and you had to go up into the sky to get in between the 4 of them. Well, 5 if you count the Thunderdome. What we want to see in the next Zelda game is a cohesive overworld. Something where you can go from point A to point B to point C, and you could just go there with any mode of transportation, be it walking, or a horse, or bird, or all 3. My biggest gripe with Skyward Sword was you literally had to go up to the sky to go anywhere. And ground travel was a pain because it took forever to get across anywhere. So it was faster to get to the nearest save point, go up to the sky, and drop back down and pick your spot again. So please, Nintendo, make a cohesive overworld worth exploring with lots of secret caves, caverns, lantern caves. I love those in Twilight Princess. They should have been more, though. And extra little bonus dungeons on the side. Pretty please with sugar on top. Please, I'm begging now. Number 4, polish the control scheme. Skyward Sword introduced one-to-one control with Wii Motion Plus. It was pretty good. A little inaccurate at times, a little calibration issues here and there, and a lot of frustration with the nunchuck. Polish it up a little bit. Maybe rethink the use of the Z button. Make that the shield, please. And maybe introduce a new peripheral like a Nunchuck Plus that actually has a real motion sensor in there. So when you raise your nunchuck, the shield comes up, and when you put it down, it goes down. I can't tell you how many times I was killed because my nunchuck decided it didn't want to respond. Number 5 is directly targeted at the Wii U. And that's, don't be afraid to use every control scheme imaginable. You could use the Wii Remote Plus and nunchuck. You could use the tablet controller, or you could use both at the same time, and have the player be able to kind of switch between them for different use cases. For example, you could use the Wii Remote tablet to kind of be the lens of truth, and kind of use it to look around. You could use the Wii Remote tablet to make notes on a map, or solve puzzles by drawing pictures. You could use the Wii Remote tablet as a map. You could use the Wii Remote tablet to act kind of like a tingle tuner, like the Wind Waker. Plus hundreds of other ideas that I can't even think of at this moment. If you got an idea for what you would use the Wii Remote tablet for, leave it in the comments. Number 6, make the game feel bigger without adding filler. Twilight Princess, you're on the chopping block this time. Oh, Temple of Time, why were you so linear? I ran out of ideas! Oh, Twilight Palace, why were you so linear? I couldn't think of anything else. Don't run out of ideas, pack the dungeons full of content, don't make them a straight dash throughout. Otherwise, you're just going to bore gamers, but really help the speedrunners at the same time. Skyward Sword, you're not getting away from this one either. Skyview, seriously? You had us run through it twice? It's pretty ballsy. You couldn't come up with another dungeon, so you had to combine the Earth Temple and what would be a water dungeon in the same area. But in terms of ways to fix that and make the game full of content, seriously, add extra side dungeons and extra little caverns. They go a long way in prolonging the boredom of gamers. Number 7, give the game a gimmick that doesn't suck. Yes, I'm implying I hated the harp. The harp was essentially a rhythm minigame, and I thought it was stupid. The previous games beforehand, Wind Waker, Majora's Mask, and Ocarina of Time, all used melodic minigames to alter events in the game, and you could use them at any time instead of those predetermined locations. And they had extra effects too. Plus, you could really kick out some pretty sweet tunes with it. What I'm asking for on the new console Zelda game is don't overthink it. Make something that's convenient. Make something that fits in the story. Make it usable almost anywhere and have a use everywhere. And don't make it just a stupid little mini game. Number 8. I know we all have the timeline memorized now. But now that we got a timeline, let's work outside the timeline. Let's just kind of throw a stone at the end of the timeline, and wherever it lands, let's make a game there. That way we have no history to worry about, and we can worry about connecting it later on with the story elements. The biggest problem I saw with Skyward Sword was it tried to really fit itself in as an origin story, and it predestined itself, which was good and bad in a way. Good because it had a concrete story. You knew where it was coming from, you knew where it was going, you knew how it was going to end. Bad thing is, it really knew everything. There was no mystery. You knew what was going to happen. You were making the Master Sword, and you were going to seal something with the Master Sword. You didn't know what when you started the game, but they kind of predestined the whole thing. Building off number 8 at number 9 is don't connect all the dots for us. We got brains. We can think. We've got a great form of theorists that are trying to piece together every piece of Zelda history. And if you connect all the dots for us through story and dialogue and references and essentially give us a book that tells us what's going on, you kind of ruin the fun of that. And what I'm asking for here is be more vague. There's no reason to be right on top of it. There's no reason to be perfect with the story. One of the cool things about The Legend of Zelda, it's a legend retold again and again and again and again and again. Which means you could do whatever you want with it, and it could still work. And finally at number 10, give the game some time to grow. Don't rush it. We could wait. We just got Skyward Sword. The Wii U's coming out this year. Give it a year, or 2, or 5, and let the game grow. Let it mature into something that's really worth playing, because at the end, we're going to be playing these games 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Hell, I'm still playing Ocarina of Time from time to time. But if you rush a game out and it's got a lot of game-breaking bugs in it, if it's got a lot of problems with controls, if the story is poorly written, if there's like massive glitches everywhere, I don't expect to see a new Zelda game at E3. I don't. I do not expect it, and I hope I don't see it. Because if I do, I might be a little disappointed because I think it's going to be rushed. I mean, if they have been outsourcing it to, for example, Retro Studios, and it's been in the works for maybe 3 years already, then hey, that's pretty good, and it's worth the time to show it off. But I think I've kind of beat that horse to death, just maybe a little too much. So that is 10 things I want to see in the next console Zelda game. What do you guys think? Leave a comment below with what you want to see in the next console Zelda game. Do you want to see it at E3? We're going to answer a quick question from the live chat because we recorded this live over at twitch.tv/Zelda Dungeon. You should really follow me on Twitter too when I announce these things. Twitter.com/themags. And you can know when we record these things live. It's a lot of fun actually because you see all the bloopers and the outtakes and all the fun stuff that goes into making this video, including all the pain and hair ripping. GFI1993 asks in the twitch.tv chat, what do you think about the failure timeline revealed in Hyrule Historia? I call it the cop-out timeline. I think it's Nintendo saying, well, we kind of had these 3 games that worked well together, and there really wasn't a way to link these together unless we kind of create a little timeline loophole. I don't think they could have fit them in to a 2-way split timeline without really making things not make sense. Hope that answered your question. If you want to get your question answered, you got to be with us live. Go on over to twitch.tv/Zelda Dungeon and follow the channel. But I'm Trevor Mignani, and this was the ZD Countdown. It's back, and hopefully we'll be back again soon. I'm sorry about the hiatus. We'll see you next time. I didn't like that. Oh boy, I'm going to break everything.